Inside a quiet laboratory, a glass flask glows with bright pink liquid under sterile white light. It looks harmless, almost beautiful, like something too clean to be dangerous. But at the bottom of that flask, a thin living film is spreading across the glass. It has no eyes, no brain, no heartbeat, and no reason to stop. It eats, divides, adapts, and keeps building copies of itself from stolen resources. This is not a virus, not a parasite, and not an alien organism from outside the body. It is human tissue that broke the rules. A piece of someone's body learned how to survive without the person. That is what makes cancer so terrifying. It does not usually enter you from the outside. It begins as you. Right now, inside your body, cells are making tiny mistakes your immune system must catch. Most of those mistakes are destroyed so quietly, you never feel them. But cancer only needs one rebel cell to escape long enough to start a new kingdom. Every cell in your body lives under a strict biological contract. It must divide only when needed, stay where it belongs, and die when ordered. Your skin protects you, your liver filters chemicals, and your blood carries oxygen. None of these cells are supposed to chase their own survival at the body's expense. But every time a cell copies its DNA, it rewrites a massive instruction manual. The copying system is incredibly accurate, but it is not perfect. A single genetic letter can be misplaced, deleted, doubled, or fused to the wrong neighbor. Most mistakes are repaired instantly, like typos corrected before anyone sees the page. Some mistakes do nothing, because the body has backups, redundancies, and emergency brakes. But sometimes the mistake lands in exactly the wrong place. It damages a gene that controls growth, repair, death, or immune detection. One mutation rarely creates cancer by itself, but it can load the first bullet. Then the cell divides again, and the lottery continues. Over decades, one unlucky cell can collect enough changes to stop acting like part of you. It begins dividing when it should rest, surviving when it should die, and moving when it should stay. This is the hidden truth behind cancer. It is not one disease. It is a family of betrayals written in damaged code. And one of the most famous betrayals began in 1951 with a young woman named Henrietta Lacks. She went to the hospital with an aggressive cervical cancer growing inside her body. The tumor was killing her, but a tiny sample taken from it did something strange. Most human cells died quickly in laboratory dishes, even when scientists fed them carefully. Henrietta's cancer cells did not. They kept dividing through the night, through the week, and then through the years. They became known as HeLa cells, one of the most important immortal cell lines in history. Henrietta died, but some of her cells kept living in bottles, incubators, and research labs. They helped scientists study viruses, test medicines, and understand the machinery of life. But they also left behind a disturbing question. How can a piece of a person survive after the person is gone? The answer is simple, cold, and terrifying. Cancer is life stripped of loyalty. A normal cell belongs to the body, but a cancer cell starts acting like a selfish organism. It steals nutrients from neighbors, ignores stop signals, and turns survival into an obsession. It does not become evil, it becomes free, and freedom inside a body can become a death sentence. Your body is not defenseless against this. Every day, your immune system patrols your tissues like a silent security force. It searches for damaged cells, strange proteins, and biological behavior that does not belong. When it finds a dangerous cell, it can order it to self-destruct or destroy it directly. Most potential cancers probably die this way before they ever become a visible tumor. But the immune system does not need to fail completely. It only needs to miss one cell at the wrong time. Once that happens, the rebellion begins learning how to hide. It can stop showing warning flags, send calming signals, and build a protective neighborhood around itself. The guards do not always lose the fight. Sometimes they simply walk past the monster. This is why cancer can grow for years without pain, fever, or obvious warning. The body is fighting a war in darkness, and the enemy was born wearing your uniform. But cancer does not rely only on random chance. The world around us can push the lottery faster. We call these forces carcinogens. They do not usually create cancer instantly, like a switch being flipped. They increase the number of genetic mistakes until the wrong combination becomes more likely. One of the most familiar carcinogens arrives wrapped in warmth. Sunlight feels alive, but ultraviolet radiation carries enough energy to damage DNA. When UV rays hit skin cells, they can fuse parts of the genetic code together. Your body rushes to repair the damage, but repairs are not always perfect. The more often skin burns, the more mistakes can pile up. A tan is not just color. It is your body admitting that sunlight has injured the surface. Radiation can also come from machines, and medicine uses it with extreme control. Modern X-rays are not casual invisible light. They are a calculated risk used for a reason. In small controlled doses, they can reveal broken bones, tumors, and hidden disease. In reckless doses, radiation can damage the same genetic code doctors are trying to protect. A century ago, people did not understand this invisible violence. X-ray devices were used for beauty treatments, shoe fitting, and other strange promises of progress. Invisible beams seemed futuristic, clean, and almost magical. Only later did the burns, tumors, and long-term injuries reveal the cost of ignorance. But not every carcinogen comes from a beam, a machine, or a laboratory. Some arrive on a plate, hidden behind comfort, habit, and taste. A grilled steak is not instant poison, and one meal does not decide your fate, but repeated exposure to certain compounds can raise the pressure on intestinal cells. High-heat cooking can create chemicals that interact with DNA. Processed meats can introduce compounds linked to a higher risk of colorectal cancer. The danger is not that dinner becomes a monster in your stomach. The danger is chemistry repeated quietly over years. Damage leads to repair. Repair requires division, and division gives mistakes more chances to appear. Excess body fat can push the same system from another direction, not because fat cells explode like bombs, but because overloaded tissue becomes stressed and inflamed. Hormones shift, immune signals change, and the body enters a low-level state of emergency. Cells forced to repair and divide more often get more chances to make fatal copying errors. Cancer risk is rarely one dramatic moment. It is pressure repeated until biology bends. Then there is the carcinogen that needs almost no explanation. Cigarette smoke is a chemical storm delivered straight into the lungs. Every inhale carries tar, reactive molecules, and carcinogens into delicate breathing tissue. Lung cells try to survive, repair the surface, and rebuild what was damaged. Then another cigarette arrives, and the cycle starts again. Smoking does not merely raise lung cancer risk a little. It can multiply the risk so dramatically that it becomes one of cancer's clearest human-made traps. But the cruelest part is this. You can avoid smoking, avoid burning, protect your skin, eat carefully, and still lose. Some people inherit mutations that make certain cancers far more likely. Their bodies begin life with one protective lock already weakened. Others simply live long enough for random copying errors to accumulate across decades. Cancer is partly exposure, partly inheritance, and partly the mathematics of being alive. The longer cells must divide, repair, and replace themselves, the more chances something can go wrong. That is why age is one of cancer's strongest allies. But cancer has one even stranger feature. In extremely rare situations, cancer cells can pass from one body into another, not through a cough, a kiss, or a shared glass of water. A healthy immune system usually recognizes foreign cells and destroys them before they settle. But organ transplants require doctors to weaken the recipient's immune defenses. Without that suppression, the body would attack the donated organ as an invader. In rare cases, a hidden cancer can travel inside the donated organ. Once inside a patient whose immune system is suppressed, those cells may begin growing again. The lesson is not that cancer is contagious. The lesson is that your immune system is protecting you more constantly than you realize. Some viruses exploit that protection from another direction. HPV and hepatitis viruses can infect cells and interfere with the systems that control growth. They do not create cancer every time, but certain strains can raise the risk dramatically. This is why vaccines against these viruses are so powerful. They can stop some cancers before the first tumor ever has a chance to exist. Prevention matters because cancer often grows in silence. A tumor can begin too small to feel, too deep to see, and too quiet to notice. By the time symptoms appear, the rebellion may already have built its fortress. So medicine had to learn how to search the body without cutting it open. An MRI machine turns the human body into a map of invisible echoes. A strong magnetic field interacts with hydrogen atoms throughout your tissues. Radio waves disturb them, and the machine listens as they return to place. From those tiny signals, computers build images of organs, shadows, and suspicious masses. To a patient, it may sound like mechanical thunder inside a narrow tunnel. To a doctor, it can reveal a hidden enemy buried deep in the body. But even advanced machines do not magically label danger. A tiny tumor can resemble normal tissue, scar tissue, inflammation, or harmless variation. The shadows are subtle, and subtle shadows can decide whether someone lives or dies. In one strange experiment, researchers trained pigeons to recognize breast cancer images. The birds pecked at screens, received food for correct answers, and slowly learned the patterns. They did not understand disease, death, or medicine, but they learned the visual fingerprint of cancer, like they learned to find seeds on concrete. Today, artificial intelligence is being trained on far more images than any bird could ever see. It can help flag suspicious areas, compare scans, and support doctors under pressure. But better detection created a paradox no one expected. Finding more cancer is not always the same as saving more lives. Some tumors are aggressive killers, but others grow so slowly they may never matter. Autopsy studies have found hidden prostate cancers in men who die from completely unrelated causes. They never felt the cancer, never needed treatment, and were not killed by it. If every silent tumor is treated like an emergency, medicine can become the danger. Surgery can save a life, but it can also bring bleeding, infection, pain, and complications. Radiation can destroy a tumor, but it can also damage nearby tissue. Drugs can stop cancer, but they can also weaken the body fighting it. This is the paradox of overdiagnosis. Sometimes the most scientific response to finding a tumor is not panic. Sometimes it is watching, measuring, and waiting. But when a tumor is fast, violent, and aggressive, waiting can be fatal. A small tumor trapped in one place can sometimes be removed with a scalpel. The surgeon cuts it out, along with a margin of healthy tissue around it. If the cancer has not spread, that simple physical removal can be enough. But aggressive cancer does not stay polite. As it grows, it demands more oxygen and nutrients than nearby tissue can provide. It sends chemical signals that summon new blood vessels toward itself. The tumor is no longer just stealing from its neighbors. It is building supply lines. Then the truly dangerous stage begins. Some cancer cells break away and enter the bloodstream or lymphatic system. They drift through the body like seeds carried by a dark river. Most die during the journey, but a few may land in a new organ and survive. A breast cancer cell can settle in bone, and a melanoma cell can reach the brain. When cancer spreads this way, the disease becomes far harder to control. This is metastasis. The monster is no longer trapped in one room. It has found doors into the rest of the house. You cannot solve that problem with one clean cut. Medicine needed weapons that could travel through the whole body. One of the earliest modern answers came from one of humanity's darkest inventions. During the age of chemical warfare, mustard compounds were used to attack soldiers in the trenches. The gas damaged tissues, burned bodies, and revealed something horrifying about dividing cells. Certain chemicals could stop rapidly dividing cells from multiplying. Decades later, scientists realized this nightmare had exposed a weakness in cancer. Cancer cells divide rapidly, so drugs that disrupt division can hit them especially hard. This idea helped lead to chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is not one drug and not simply poison poured blindly into the body. It is a family of treatments designed to damage cancer faster than they damage the patient. But the old problem remains. Some healthy cells also divide quickly. Hair follicles divide quickly, so hair can fall out. The lining of the gut renews quickly, so nausea and pain can follow. Bone marrow makes blood cells constantly, so treatment can weaken immunity and energy. Chemotherapy is brutal because it attacks a behavior cancer shares with healthy life. And yet, this brutal weapon has saved millions. Radiation therapy attacks the problem from another angle. Instead of sending drugs through the bloodstream, doctors aim energy at the tumor itself. Modern radiation can shape beams, adjust angles, and concentrate damage where cancer sits. Healthy tissue can still be affected, but the goal is precision instead of blind destruction. Surgery removes, chemotherapy circulates, and radiation targets. Together, these tools turned many once hopeless cancers into diseases doctors could fight. Cancer kept adapting. Some tumors survived treatment, changed their behavior, or hid in places drugs struggled to reach. Others learned to silence the immune cells that should have destroyed them. For decades, medicine tried to kill cancer mostly from the outside. Then scientists realized something strange. The strongest anti-cancer weapon might already be inside the patient. The immune system is built to recognize danger, remember enemies, and destroy abnormal cells. But it also has breaks, because an unleashed immune system can attack healthy organs. Cancer exploits those breaks by sending signals that tell immune cells to stand down. Checkpoint inhibitor drugs try to block those false stop signals. They do not poison the tumor directly, they help immune cells see the target again. This changed the future for some patients with melanoma, lung cancer, and other cancers. It does not work for everyone, and it can cause serious side effects. But when it works, the result can feel impossible. Former President Jimmy Carter became one of the most famous examples. In his 90s, he was treated for melanoma that had spread to his liver and brain. After radiation and immunotherapy, scans showed no visible signs of the brain tumors. A few decades earlier, that kind of diagnosis would have sounded almost final. Now it became proof that the wall was cracking. Researchers are now trying to go even further with personalized cancer vaccines. The idea is to read the unique mutations inside a person's tumor. Then doctors can train the immune system to recognize those mutations as enemy signals. It is like giving the body a wanted poster designed for one specific cancer. These vaccines are not a universal cure, and many are still being tested, but they represent a major shift in the war. We are no longer only asking how to burn, cut, or poison the tumor. We are asking how to teach the body to remember it. Still, cancer keeps reminding us why there will never be one magic pill for all of it. The strangest proof came from a case that sounded almost impossible. A man with a severely weakened immune system developed tumors doctors could not explain. The cells were spreading through his body, but something about them was wrong. When scientists studied them closely, they discovered the cells were not human. They came from a dwarf tapeworm living inside him. The parasite had developed its own cancer, and those abnormal parasite cells took root in human tissue. This case was extraordinarily rare, but it revealed cancer's deepest nature. Cancer is not one villain with one weakness. It is evolution running wild inside living tissue. Wherever damaged cells find a path to survive, they will take it. That is why the phrase, "the cure for cancer," can be misleading. There are hundreds of cancers with different mutations, organs, speeds, and escape routes. A treatment that destroys one tumor may barely touch another. A therapy that saves one patient may fail completely in the next. War is not one battle. It is thousands of small battles fought cell by cell. But the story is not hopeless. In many places, cancer death rates have fallen because of less smoking, earlier detection, and better treatment. Doctors are learning which tumors must be attacked and which ones should be watched. They are learning to aim radiation more precisely and choose drugs more intelligently. They are learning how to wake the immune system without letting it destroy the body. Cancer is still one of the most dangerous forces inside human flesh, but it is no longer an invisible curse we can only fear. We are mapping it, exposing it, decoding it, and forcing it to fight in the open. The monster in the flask is still alive, but for the first time in human history, it is starting to lose.